Good evening and welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. And if you haven't been keeping up with Auburn sports for the past week, then you're in for a show. My name is Sam Humphrey.
And I'm Kennedy Gooden. We've got recaps from the SEC Tournament baseball's big weekend and senior night from a historic Auburn gymnastics team. You're watching Sports Night in Auburn. Men's basketball drew a 5 seed in the SEC Conference Tournament in the last string of games before the big dance-off in the NCAA Tournament. Auburn drew a first-round bye before taking on Missouri in the second round.
A dominant opening round win against Missouri, in which the Battle of the Tigers ended up going Auburn's way by a final of 81-71.
That win would set up a battle with 4-seeded South Carolina, who had taken down Auburn earlier in the season, in a matchup in which Bruce Pearl said, quote, "Frank Martin has had my number," referencing the two's matchups in the past. But if Frank Martin had Bruce's number, he may want to find a new one, as Auburn would ride the hot hand of Jared Harper with 27 points to the tune of a 73-64 win, setting up a trip to the semifinals.
The semifinal matchup proved to be a favorable one for the Tigers, as they avoided having to play LSU, who was taken down by the 8-seeded Florida Gators. This will be Auburn's closest game of the season. Bryce Brown would be the fire Auburn would ride in the first half, erasing deficits that the Gators would build with his outside scoring ability, and after a big Jared Harper second half and a Florida heave that failed to find the net, Auburn would be heading into the finals of the SEC Tournament.
The tournament final would be a rematch between the Auburn Tigers and the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, in the last game of the regular season, Auburn prevented Tennessee from capturing a share of the SEC regular season title. The Tigers came into this game trying to prevent the Vols from winning a tournament title as well. Auburn came out with a high pace and maintained the tempo throughout the game, with which Tennessee just cannot match up with. Auburn would go up by as many as 22 in the second half en route to their first SEC tournament title since 1985 and their first trip since 2000, as Auburn would emerge victorious by a final score of 84-64.
And after Auburn's tournament win Sunday, Laura Rutledge of ESPN announced the all-tournament team along with the tournament MVP.
The all-tournament team is as follows: Admiral Schofield and Grant Williams from Tennessee, Jared Harper, Bryce Brown, and Chuma Okeke from Auburn, and the MVP of the tournament was Bryce Brown of the Auburn Tigers after averaging 17 points per game while shooting 65% from the field, connecting 14 of his 33-pointers.
Now, with all of the hype after Sunday's huge win to capture the SEC Tournament, the Tigers waited in Nashville to watch the ESPN selection show and see where they would be seated.
The Tigers would be slated 5th in the Midwest region. Highlights in the region include North Carolina as the 1 seed, Kentucky as the 2 seed, Houston as the 3 seed, and Kansas as the 4 seed.
Auburn's path to make it out of the region to make a deep run would likely go through at least 3 of these teams. Auburn's run to the national championship starts on Thursday at 12:30 as the Tigers travel to Salt Lake City, Utah to take on 12-seeded New Mexico State. And if the Tigers win that matchup, they would most likely face Kansas as the Jayhawks take on 13th-seeded Northeastern.
All right, so how far will Auburn go? Many analysts have Auburn as the team to watch. The Tigers are riding high after the conference tournament. And then you have Jared Harper and Bryce Brown. They're clicking at the right time with help from the bench, and they're showing the depth with the teams of Auburn's roster. So what do you think?
Well, I think as far as Auburn, as well as Auburn shoots the 3, we could beat any team in the country. We saw it at the beginning of the year with Duke, that we competed with them from start to finish, even when they had Zion. It was because we shot the 3 well. And we shot many of them, and as long as we played like we did against Tennessee, we could beat any team in the country and go to a Final Four maybe.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people have Auburn looking to defeat New Mexico State, and I think they will. I think they have a great chance, and they definitely surprised a lot of people with winning the SEC championship.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, looking forward to more for them. Now, we can't forget about the Auburn women's team when talking about basketball, as they were looking to make a splash in the conference tournament just as the men did.
The women started out hot, as the record earned them a first-round bye, but after an Alabama win against Vanderbilt, the Iron Bowl would be seen for the 3rd time this season on the court. But with the same result, Auburn would come away with the win by a final score of 53-52, and Janiah McKay led the way with 12 points and 2 assists.
In the quarterfinals, the Tigers faced an opponent that seemed to have their number this year, the Texas A&M Aggies. After a hard-fought game, the Tigers were eliminated by the Aggies by a final score of 64-62. Janiah McKay led the way once again with 17 points. Texas A&M sophomore Kayla Wells stepped up for the Aggies, dropping 28 points to lead them over Auburn.
So for the 3rd time in Coach Flo's tenure, the ladies are going dancing, as they will travel to California to take on the ladies of Brigham Young.
Auburn opens up the tournament as a 10 seed facing the 7-seeded Cougars. The Tigers are 22-9 on the season with an above 500 record in SEC play for the first time under Coach Flo. Tip-off for the Tigers will be at 2:30 Central Time on Saturday.
One interesting little tidbit to throw in here is that BYU is 3-14 all-time against SEC squads, with 2 of those wins coming against Florida. Let's see if Auburn can pull the upset card and likely face off against Stanford in the second round.
Coming up, we'll give you a preview of what happens when we lock our sports directors, Hayden, Desmond, and Andy Huling in a room and tell them to fill out a bracket. Stay tuned to Sports Night in Auburn.
As a mom and an Olympian, I know the importance of getting to the finish line quickly.
But quicker isn't always better when it comes to conversations about the dangers of underage drinking.
General Marshall is right. You don't need to get the entire point across in one dinner or one car ride.
Stick to those meaningful moments. A text or short conversation can go a long way.
And be sure to use resources like asklistenlearn.org.
They've got everything from conversation starters to facts about the dangers of underage drinking.
So start the conversation today about saying yes to a healthy lifestyle.
And no to underage drinking.
I believe this is a practical world and that I can count only on what I earn. Therefore, I believe in work, hard work.
I believe in education, which gives me the knowledge to work wisely and trains my mind and my hands to work skillfully.
I believe in honesty and truthfulness, without which I cannot win the respect and confidence of my fellow men.
I believe in a sound mind, in a sound body, in a spirit that is not afraid, and in a clean sport that develops these qualities.
I believe in obedience to the law because it protects the rights of all. I believe in human touch, which cultivates sympathy with my fellow men and mutual helpfulness and brings happiness for all.
I believe in my country because it is a land of freedom and because it is my home, and that I can best serve that country by doing justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly with my God.
And because Auburn men and women believe in these things, I believe in Auburn and love it.
A Dog's Way Home is the story of the extraordinary lengths a dog will go to in order to get back to their family. Every year, millions of dogs and cats end up in shelters and rescue groups. We found our Bella at a shelter in Tennessee. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover they're all pure love. Adopt pure love and help a shelter pet find their way home at theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. Well, it's March and the madness is fully upon us, and with the tournament set to kick off tomorrow, we here at Sports Night decided to take our expertise and go through our picks for the bracket this year. I'm joined here by my co-sports director, Andy Huling, and we're going to start with the East region, where Duke, shockingly, was the #1 seed after earning the overall 1 seed in the tournament. So Duke's first matchup here. What do you think about this matchup, Andy?
I think Duke will roll easily over their opponent. They're playing really good basketball. Zion Williamson back on their team, and I think they're poised for a deep tournament run.
I definitely agree with that, and it's hard to see Duke joining Virginia as the only 1 seeds to get upset. Now, this is one matchup that a lot of people have been having trouble with. It's VCU versus UCF. So what do you see here? Is there anything big?
It's a tough matchup. 8 versus 9 is always really tricky when you're making your March Madness picks, but I like VCU over their with their experience in March Madness in the past. I don't think UCF will have enough for them.
I definitely agree. VCU is one of the hottest teams coming into that tournament, so I think they're almost a lock here against UCF. Now, this is kind of an interesting game. We have the SEC rival for the Auburn Tigers of Mississippi State going against the Liberty Flames.
I do like Mississippi State in this game. Liberty has played really good basketball, but Quindary Witherspoon is a big factor, as well as Tyson Carter on the Mississippi State side. Their shooting ability from three-point will definitely give them a win in this game.
I definitely agree. Like you said, Quindary Witherspoon is one of the best players in the SEC, and I cannot see them being the 5 seed that gets upset this year. Virginia Tech, St. Louis.
I like Virginia Tech. They've played some really good ball in the ACC. Really impressive wins, but also really close losses to teams like Duke, North Carolina. I think they'll get through against St. Louis.
Now, this might be one of my favorite matchups of the East region. This is the 6-seeded Maryland against 11-seeded Belmont, and I want your take on this first.
You know, Maryland has played some good games, but they've been really sloppy in conference due to the fact they're playing really good teams. And I like Belmont in this game. I watched them last night, grinded out a really good win against a Temple team that's playing really good basketball. And I like Belmont to upset Maryland.
I definitely agree with this pick, and I'm going to tell you why. I watched Belmont last night, and I think they move the ball very well, and they're a very complete team. I also think that Maryland isn't as good as people say they are, even with this 6 seed. Maryland coming into the tournament, or At the beginning of the season, they were about 16-3, 16-4, somewhere in there, and then now they're 22-10, and that's not really the streak that you want to be on when you're coming into the tournament, so I'd have to take Belmont here.
For sure. And then moving down here, we got LSU and Yale. What do you think, Hayden?
I have to go with the #1 seed in the SEC tournament here in the LSU Tigers. I think LSU, with the play of Tremont Waters, is doing really well right now, and I cannot see them losing to Yale.
I like that pick too. LSU will win. Yale is a good team, just won the Ivy League championship, but LSU will win on this game. Yeah.
Now we got an interesting matchup here. Louisville and Rick Pitino's old team against his son, Richard Pitino, in Minnesota.
I like Louisville in this game. They've played really good in the ACC. Minnesota did have an impressive run in the Big Ten championship tournament, but Louisville in the end will win this game.
Last in the East region, for the first round, we have Michigan State, the 2 seed, against Bradley.
Like Michigan State, they've played really good, won the Big Ten, and they will win this first round game.
Now let's start going into the second round here. If you scroll back up for me, we're going to look at Louisville and Michigan State. Now this is a 2 and a 7, kind of an interesting little matchup. Who do you have going here?
You know, this is a really good matchup. 2 big teams in the NCAA basketball picture. But I like Michigan State to move on against Louisville.
I definitely agree there. I think Tom Izzo is just one of the best coaches in the country, and I have a hard time seeing him losing to a young Louisville team. Now, LSU and Belmont. Belmont coming off a big win against Maryland. Do you see them having a chance to upset the Tigers?
I think it'll be a really close game, but LSU will prevail. I think LSU is a really good team right now, just for the fact we talked about Tremont Waters. And Belmont, yes, if they were to make it to the second round game, it would be really big for them. But I don't see them making it to the Sweet 16.
I definitely agree there. I think LSU is playing very good ball. Even though they did get upset a little bit in the SEC tournament, losing to Florida, I have LSU over Belmont as well. Now we're going to move to the other SEC team in this region, Mississippi State, taking on a 4 seed Virginia Tech.
Really good game here, and I think Mississippi State moves on. I like, as we said, Quindary Weatherspoon, Tyson Carter, that shooting ability will be more than Virginia Tech can handle.
I definitely agree. I think Mississippi State has a very good chance to move on, and even though they're a 5 seed, I think they're playing more like a 3. Now, the last matchup of the second round here, the #1 overall seed Duke versus 8 VCU.
Oh, no question here, Duke will win. I think just that confidence coming off that first win will give them confidence to beat VCU.
Definitely agree on that one. Now we're going to move on to Duke and Mississippi State.
Okay. Well, with Duke and Mississippi State, 2 really good teams that shoot the ball, really physical. I look down at the big boys down low, like Zion Williamson and Adu down low for Mississippi State. Rebounding will be big in this game, but I think Duke will play more better than Mississippi State, and they will get the win.
I'd have to agree with Andy there. I think it's hard for Duke to be upset before about the Elite 8 or the Final 4 if they are to get upset, and I'm going to take Duke here over Mississippi State. So the team that will face Duke, in our opinion, would it be LSU or Michigan State?
I think Michigan State, they're a better team to me than LSU right now, playing really good ball. And I think they will meet up with Duke in a big, big matchup in the Elite 8.
This is going to be our first disagreement. I think that LSU has a really good chance to win here, and I'm going to pick them, but we're going to hit Michigan State here for Andy's sake, because I think Michigan State, the lights are just going to be too big. I acknowledge that Tom Izzo is a great coach, but I think that team is just, as they do time and time again, just is not going to be able to get it done, and I'm going to go with LSU.
Okay. So
either way, I think we both know who's coming out of the East region. I think it's safe to say that we both think the Duke Blue Devils are going to come out of the East region.
Yeah, Duke for sure. I mean, Michigan State's a good team. They could definitely beat Duke. But right now, the way Duke is looking, no one's going to stop them right now in this tournament play.
We're all part of your community.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe. So protect your every day.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
With data breaches on the rise, finding the right tools to protect you and your loved ones from identity theft is critical.
That's why the Alabama Department of Revenue is providing residents a free and secure mobile app that uses your face to confirm your identity, so only you can claim your state income tax refund.
Download the Alabama EID to your smartphone and complete a simple 4-step registration process. Using facial recognition technology, the Alabama EID verifies your identity by matching your face against the picture used to make your driver's license or state-issued ID.
With the Alabama EID, there are no usernames or passwords to remember, and only you can authorize the Department of Revenue to process your state income tax refund.
Don't let someone steal your state tax refund.
Protect your refund.
Protect yourself.
Learn more at alabamaeid.com.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. If you would like to see the rest of Hayden and Andy's breakdown, check out our website at eagleeyeauburn.com. Shifting from one sport to another, on the diamond over the weekend, an exciting series resulted from the opening of SEC play for the Auburn Tigers as they welcomed in the Tennessee Volunteers for a series at Plainsman Park over the weekend. After winning the first two games, Auburn got their 13th win in a row following a 3-run bottom of the 8th inning, highlighted by a 2-out, 2 RBI single from Edouard Julian.
The 12th ranked Tigers headed 2 hours up Highway 280 to take on the UAB Blazers at Legion Field. It took a 4-1 comeback and 12 runs in the final 5 innings, but Auburn behind the bat of Connor Davis, who drove in a grand slam in the top of the 5th, for the Tigers to take down the Blazers 13-5. Softball opened up conference play, welcoming the Texas A&M Aggies to Jane B. Moore Field over the weekend.
The 3-game series would prove to be a good one for the Tigers, as the first game on Friday was a little close, but the Tigers had the edge by a final of 7-6. The next 2 games on Saturday and Sunday would not be the same, as the Tigers would win by totals of 8-1 and 12-4.
The wins moved the Tigers' overall record to 26-4 with a matchup against Mississippi State in a 3-game series in Starkville this weekend.
As the Auburn gymnastics season comes to a close with the SEC and NCAA meets looming, the Tigers honored the last 4 seniors at last Friday's gymnastics meet against Air Force.
Seniors Samantha Serio, Taylor Krippner, Abby Millett, and Miracle Phillips were honored before the meet. The Tigers were able to win all 5 events, posting the following scores. On vault, the Tigers scored a 49.275, highlighted by Drew Watson's 5th vault title with a score of 9.9. On bars, Auburn finished with a 49.325. On beam, a 49.025. And on the floor, Auburn capped the night with a 49.2, totaling up to 196.825.
The win helps the Tigers remain undefeated at home this season, as the Tigers are ranked 12th heading into the SEC Tournament in New Orleans.
Auburn men's tennis hosted a doubleheader on Saturday as they played Alcorn State and 10th-ranked Mississippi State. The Tigers split the matches, losing 4-0 to Mississippi State and winning 4-0 against Alcorn State. The loss to Mississippi State keeps Auburn winless in SEC play. The Tigers will host Alabama on Friday at 3 p.m. at the Yarborough Tennis Center.
Women's tennis is also searching for their first SEC win, as the Tigers fell to the Ole Miss Rebels 4-2 on Saturday. The Tigers took the double point, but were unable to finish off the Rebels in the singles competition. Auburn will travel to Tuscaloosa Friday to face the Alabama Crimson Tide at 5 p.m.
Coming up, we'll have a look ahead at everything going on here on the Plains. You're watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it.
She gonna get it, Daddy?
She'll get it. Get it. Get it.
When you bring home a Goodwill find, you give your whole town a reason to celebrate, because you're also funding local job training and placement programs in tech, healthcare, and more. Goodwill. Bring good home.
Home fire drills give your family a plan of action. In a home fire, you may have less than 2 minutes to get out. So when you drill, show everyone 2 ways out of the house, pick a safe meeting spot, and get there in under 2 minutes. Then practice home fire drills at least twice a year. You can even make them fun. So everyone knows the sound and exactly what to do when they hear a smoke alarm. Go to ready.gov/fire drill and learn how to prepare your family for home fires.
Let's take a look at your week ahead in Auburn athletics. Women's swimming and diving is currently competing in the NCAA championships in Austin, Texas. The event will last through Saturday.
Men's basketball faces New Mexico State in the first round of the NCAA tournament. The game is set for 12:30 and can be seen on TNT.
Softball travels to Starkville for a 3-game series with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Game 1 will begin Friday at 6 p.m.
Baseball also heads to Starkville for a 3-game series with the 4th-ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs. Game 1 will begin at 6 p.m.
Cross-country track and field will travel to the Florida State Relays in Tallahassee. The event will last all weekend.
Gymnastics will be competing in the SEC Championships in New Orleans. The event will last all day and will be shown on the SEC Network.
Women's basketball travels to Palo Alto, California to play BYU in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Tip-off is at 2:30 and can be seen on the networks of ESPN.
Women's golf hosts the Evans Derby Experience at the Sagahatchee Country Club in Auburn. The event will last until Sunday. Well, that's all we have for you tonight.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at EETV_sports and follow Eagle Eye TV on Instagram. And don't forget to check out our website, eagleeyeauburn.com. I'm Kennedy Gooden.
And I'm Sam Humphrey. Thank you for joining us, and War Eagle.